Gibraltar marks 75 years since the deadly explosion aboard the RFA Bednam. A local man is sentenced to over 2 years in prison for attempted robbery and carrying a knife. Former judge and coroner Felix Pisarello dies at the age of 95. We hear from the new chairperson of Cancer Relief Gibraltar, Fabian Vinette. And former GBC sports reporter John Shepherd completes the London Marathon. Good evening. Today marks 75 years since an explosion aboard RFA Bednam resulted in 13 deaths. The merchant Navy vessel, which was loaded with tons of ammunition, was docked at Gun Wharf when a fire broke out on board, ultimately leading to the fatal explosion. At a commemorative event this morning, the Minister for Civil Contingencies, Leslie Brusson, said the explosion left a lasting mark on Gibraltar and remains a sombre part of our history. Ian Clarence spoke to Ronnie Balabish, who was a young boy at the time, and heard from Lynn Fitch, whose father was aboard the Bednam and survived.
It's an emotional day, as you would expect, but my dad would be chuffed that I was, am I allowed to say chuffed? Chuffed is a good word. He would be chuffed that we were here. We made the effort. My dad never came back to Gibraltar. I don't think he could quite do it. Lots of memories for him, I'm sure. But as a child, we probably didn't ask that much of him, really, about the explosion. All we knew, he was on the Bednam when it blew up.
At about 10 in the morning, there was a huge bang explosion. And the room trembled. And at the time, the Korean War was in full swing. So the boys started shouting, the Korean War, and started fooling about. But then 2 minutes later, there was a teacher, Miss Figueras, whose classroom was next to mine. She came in looking very distressed and with dust in her hair.
Around a kilometre away, docked at Gun Wharf, RFA Bednam had exploded. The merchant Navy vessel, which had provided support at the Normandy landings 7 years prior, was carrying 500 tons of ammunition when it caught fire and blew up violently, killing 13, injuring hundreds more, and causing extensive damage across town. It's the deadliest single incident that has taken place here in more than 130 years. It's no surprise that witnesses to the destruction still vividly recall that day.
I remember that a piece of the ship fell in front of the entrance to the St. Mary's, the Crown Cathedral. And it was said that a piece of the ship has also been blown over the rock and landed in the Catalan Bay area. Perhaps the worst affected was Grand Stores, as it was then the Water Department Grand Stores. I believe the roof was blown off and it was eventually demolished. And this is where John McIntosh Hall is now.
On this day, we remember those who were affected, those who lost their lives, those who were injured, and the families and colleagues of those who forever changed. We also remember the courage and dedication of those who responded in the immediate aftermath. Let us take a moment to reflect not only on the tragedy itself, but on the strength, resilience, and unity that followed.
This was a tragedy that affected everybody on the rock, a generation-defining moment for a generation that had already lived through so much.
After the evacuation, it is the event that is in the minds of people, particularly of my generation. I mean, I was 11 3 days before the explosion. This is why I always remember the date.
Mrs. Fitch's father was one of the lucky ones that day. He lived to tell the tale. He would leave the Navy in the years that followed and start a family. with his daughter proud to visit Gibraltar and honour his memory today.
My dad's injuries, he had a burst eardrum, as you would expect from an explosive injury, and permanently lost his hearing on one side. We do remember as children that Dad was cared for a fair few weeks here, and he was immensely grateful, as we are, for the care that he was given while he was here, and obviously for the fire service of Gibraltar. Without them, you know, many more people could have been injured or died. My dad was a good dad. He loved his family. I've got two brothers. He loved us all, adored my mum, and yeah, he was a wonderful man, I have to say.
Amongst the damage and casualties of the Bednam explosion was the loss of the stained glass windows of the Anglican Cathedral, which had been installed more than half a century earlier. In the last 4 years, work has been underway to repurpose fragments of the shattered originals, incorporating them into new designs for the cathedral today. Well, yesterday, Dean Ian Tarrant dedicated 3 of the newly installed windows to all those who suffered in the explosion 75 years ago.
Of course, there were 13 people killed by the explosion, not only seafarers but passers-by as well, and a number of people were injured or affected in other ways. So it's seared into the memories of anybody over the age of 80.
Why did you think it was important to do it this way, to use those fragments of the original glass?
To acknowledge the heritage, the history. So some of the glass is well over 100 years old. It's nice to keep that going, still in use. I'd like to think that the new glass panels that we've put up will last another 100 years. There were 9 stained glass windows on the side and the east window, all destroyed by the explosion of the Bednam. And they replaced the east window quite quickly with stained glass, but they replaced the other windows with plain glass. And then about 4 years ago, one of our church wardens remembered that we had some fragments of the old windows in store. And we got them out of store and thought, what can we do with them? And so we've now created 3 stained glass panels using fragments of the old windows. The window in Our Lady Chapel is 100% old glass. You can see an angel at the top, which was actually reconstructed from 2 different angels. And at the bottom, there is the image of Florence Emily Cordew, who was the older sister of John Mackintosh, who was born in Gibraltar and baptized in this cathedral in the 1860s. She ended up married to a royal engineer who became master of the Royal Mint in Calcutta. And when she died in 1912, he decided to dedicate a window to her memory here in the cathedral. So we have that image of a lady from the 19th century in our cathedral that's been preserved. A ship is a sign of salvation in the New Testament. Just as in the Old Testament, Noah's Ark was a sign of salvation, in the New Testament, a ship continues to be a sign of salvation. And a ship features in the logo of the World Council of Churches, so it can be seen as an ecumenical symbol as well. And in the St. George's Chapel there, where the ship is mounted, we have hosted Methodist and Orthodox services in recent years. So it's part of the unifying nature of the church. And then in the opposite corner, we have an image of an anchor, which is in memory of a man who was in the Royal Navy. And in that same window, we have a white ensign representing the Royal Navy. And in the other corner, a flying angel symbol, which represents the mission to seafarers, which the cathedral sponsors.
Well, on to other news, and a 34-year-old man has been sentenced to 2 years and 3 months in prison for attempted robbery and carrying a knife in a public place. Edinburgh estate resident Adrian Wilkins was sentenced at the Supreme Court following an incident that took place in October last year. When handing down his judgment, puisne Judge Liam Yates told the court that the offences were so serious that the only custodial sentence could be justified. Mr. Justice Yates sentenced the defendant to 3 years imprisonment for the attempted robbery charge and 12 months for carrying the offensive weapon. Due to his guilty plea, Wilkins was entitled to a 25% reduction. Both sentences will run concurrently. The private visa services company Visa HQ says a confidential circular was sent last week from Spain's National Police Immigration Unit to all border posts in respect of Gibraltar residents crossing into Spain. GBC reported on Friday that Spanish authorities were asking Gibraltar residents without a red ID card to submit to EES checks, which the government put down to a misunderstanding.
In answer to GBC questions, the government said some anomalies detected on Friday appear to relate to misunderstood instructions through the Spanish chain of command. Number 6 confirmed that legal residents of Gibraltar with all colours of residence cards can access Schengen via Spain without EES unless they request to do so. The private visa services company Visa HQ says a confidential circular dated the 22nd of April was sent from Spain's National Police Immigration Unit to all border posts regarding Gibraltar residents, notably the land crossing at La Linea and airports handling Gibraltar traffic, to stop registering Gibraltar nationals in the EU's new entry-exit system. The EES has been fully operational since the 10th of April. Visa HQ says by omitting Gibraltar residents who technically remain UK nationals, Spain is bending an EU rule that has no written exemption for the territory. It says the police memo cites neither legal authority nor a time limit, but officials hint the measure is a temporary workaround until the long-negotiated EU-UK mobility agreement on Gibraltar takes effect on the 15th of July. The website says its Spanish portal continually monitors policy shifts to assist travellers with documentation requirements for Spain and the wider Schengen area.
Meanwhile, the government told GBC it was not aware of any EES problems at the frontier today and had had no reports to that effect. This after GBC received reports that some green ID card holders had been asked to pull aside and wait in their cars at the frontier. The former judge and coroner Felix Pisarello, CBE, has died at the age of 95. Felix Pisarello received the Medallion of Honor in 2015 for his services to the public in various ranks of the judiciary. At the time, the Chief Minister told Parliament that he had contributed to the interests of Gibraltar and its people in an exceptional manner. Mr. Pisarello was first appointed additional judge, the equivalent of what is now termed puisne judge. He also served as stipendiary magistrate and registrar of the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal. As coroner, he presided over the inquests into the 3 IRA deaths in 1988 under intense international scrutiny. Felix Pisarello dispensed justice in the Gibraltar courts for years, and although he was no soft touch, he had a reputation for being fair. Our condolences to his wife Maddie and their family. We're watching GBC News. Still to come, we hear from the new chairperson of Cancer Relief Gibraltar. A local artist has his works selected for a major exhibition in Berlin. And former GBC sports reporter John Shepherd completes the London Marathon. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. The new chairperson of Cancer Relief Gibraltar, Fabian Vinet, has taken the reins. Speaking on Gibraltar today, Vinet highlighted one of his aims to make sure the community knows about the huge range of facilities available for cancer patients, their families and carers.
I first joined as a trustee in 2019, so 7 years ago, and then I was asked to become the deputy chair 4 years ago. So we have a board of trustees, very hardworking, very committed, but there's also a sort of subgroup within the trustee, the board, and we deal with sort of more pressing matters, and so I've had, I think, ample experience working very closely with Melissa. Look, we're two different people with our idiosyncrasies and so on, but I have to say we've been working extremely well together for 7 years, dealt with many different matters and challenges, and I genuinely can't remember one single disagreement that we've had over that time. So I think it's very much business as usual, and we'll just keep on going and building on the legacy that Melissa has built.
Yeah. I found when we moved from the Lady Williams Centre, one of the sort of personal reflections that I had was that we were going through a monumental change, and one of the things that I thought was no ego must be allowed to interfere with this work, and no ego has interfered with this work, because everybody from the board, from the people who, the nurses, the admin staff, the fundraising, and the wonderful volunteers, everybody is there for the service user, for the patients and their families.
So what will be some of your priorities moving forward?
I think there is still scope to offer even more and better services to our service users. I think I'd also like to see more education in terms of informing the community exactly what it is that we offer, and the huge range of different and distinct services, counselling and all sorts of things that we offer to help cancer patients and their families and carers. But if you were to ask me where I see cancer relief in the next 5, 10, 15 years, I think it's a continuation of where we are now. I want us to be able to continue offering services free of charge to everyone affected by cancer in any way in our community. I want our staff and our volunteers to continue to feel proud of their involvement with the charity. And I want the overwhelming support of our community, of corporates and individuals to continue. And I think it will continue because I think people out there understand that Cancer Relief Gibraltar really does make a difference.
The Gibraltar Bus Company has begun the first test runs of the new electric Upper Town buses, which are due to arrive after the summer. Route 1 will be tested between 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. with passengers welcome to ride and provide comments and feedback to drivers. The trial runs will allow the Ministry of Transport and the bus company to plan timetables and charging plans for these 6 new buses before they are put into service. Local artist Carl Alger recently had 6 of his works selected for a major international exhibition in Berlin, Germany. The show, Running with Scissors, brings together over 40 artists under the Kane Yo collective at Anders Gallery. Carl Alger was on Gibraltar Today.
I have never been to this gallery before. I arrived on Wednesday late afternoon, and some of the other guys had arrived Sunday and Monday. So they were showing and sharing videos of the place, and they were saying, because obviously we knew online what the gallery looked like, but when you're there in person, you realize how massive and how elaborate the actual location was as well. It was in prime location. It was off Potsdamer Platz, literally 5 minutes walk from there, and it was next to the river, so it was absolutely beautiful. I was sharing that on my social media, and there were a lot of people commenting about how beautiful the location was. What I was worried about was, because it was so big, were the artworks going to get lost a little bit on walls, and it didn't happen. I think we had over 300 artworks, 44 artists to be exact, 39 from the collective and 5 from Berlin, and that were invited to exhibit, and it was just packed. Literally, the closing time for the opening day was 10 o'clock at night, and we were still standing there at 11:15 first 11 with people coming in. There were different waves. It was like it wasn't like normally locally we have an opening night and the first hour and a half is packed and then it obviously fizzles out.
It dwindles.
But this one was literally people going in and out all the way till 11, an extra hour.
It sounds like it's been very inspiring for you meeting these other artists, but also seeing their work. So has this inspired future work? What's next for you now?
100%. Without giving too much away, there's a project that is something happening maybe in October, and I'm doing. I've been very much influenced by some work that I've seen here that I'm going to tackle as well. And that's another thing. It's all about networking as well. I mean, I made some very good new friends, and I can call them friends because we went out for breakfast, we started talking, and we already jumping with ideas with each other. And Diego Palacios, a very, very well-known artist, is he's actually Chilean, but working at the moment currently in Venice, but he's been 5 years based in Berlin, so basically he's only been 1 year in Venice. And this guy is also another big player, and he's an artist that also has influenced me with certain decision making that could be happening in the next couple of months.
Former GBC sports reporter John Shepherd completed the London Marathon yesterday to raise awareness and funds for the Stroke Association. A stroke survivor himself, he was pushed in a wheelchair by Christian Navas and completed the marathon in 5 hours, 44 minutes and 16 seconds. We caught up with John on his return to the Rock.
Brilliant experience, London Marathon. I couldn't have done it without him. And I think he'll say
I wouldn't have been there if not for John, 100%.
So we've had a brilliant time. It was a tough trek. Did it in very good time. If there'd been a record for Little Britain, we would have done it. So and I'd be thankful everything that he's done for me to get me through this, and obviously the people that have helped me locally. Sean Reyes is one of them, and all the support we've had. We can't believe the amount of support. We had support from his family halfway around the course. So, it's been a brilliant experience.
Definitely, really, really good. So, really humbling as well, no, John?
Well, getting across the line is the only reason that I'm here is because of him. So, there you go.
Well done, Shep. Smashed it. Over to sport now, with plenty of action happening on the Rock and away from it. In futsal, Europa and Lynx will dispute the playoff final. The football season comes to a dramatic end, and Special Olympics Gibraltar return from the Small Nations Boccia tournament in Liechtenstein with medals. But first, hockey, and against all odds, Grammarians are league champions. Here's Jose Maria Ruiz with the latest.
After 3 draws and a defeat in the best-of-5 campaign against Eagles, Grammarians needed to win by at least 3 goals in normal time to force a shootout. They went beyond that and secured a 4-0 victory. Eric Casiaro bagged himself a brace and the winning goal in the final minute of the match. Eagles went into the game needing just a draw, or even defeat by 2 goals would have been enough, but it wasn't to be. Grammarians are the new league champions.
Wow, guys, what a final. Walk us through that. What an emotional match.
Yeah, it was crazy. We knew from minute one that it was an uphill battle, but look, we managed to get there 4-0 and it got us the league. Buzzing.
I mean, coming into this game, what's the motivation like in the changing room? Was the belief, was the confidence in this result?
Yeah, there was a lot of confidence. We knew what we had to do, and we came out and did it, no? So there we go.
A dramatic end to the football season pinned 3rd place Montscalpe against 4th place Europa FC. Velata needed to win to leapfrog Montscalpe, clinch 3rd and secure themselves a place in the first qualifying round of the UEFA Conference League. And that's exactly what they did. A convincing 4-1 win in the final match of the campaign sends Europa to Europe. Later that evening, league winners Lincoln Red Imps were presented with the shield. Red Imps claims their 30th league title with a game to spare. On to futsal, and Lynx FC and Europa FC will dispute the playoff final. The latter made it 2-2 in the best-of-3 semis against Popilec, whilst Lynx and Bavaria went the distance. After winning the first match, Lynx went on to lose the second, with the Pinks winning on penalties, forcing a 3rd game the following day. Lynx would secure a 5-1 victory there to book themselves a place in the final against Europa. Special Olympics Gibraltar travelled to Liechtenstein for the Small Nations Bocce tournament, competing in doubles and a round-robin event against 5 other nations, the Faroe Isles, Luxembourg, Iceland, Liechtenstein and the Isle of Man. It was a medal-filled weekend for the squad. Marvin and Dorian Zamit got Gibraltar off the mark, beating Malta 5-4 to claim bronze in the top division. Julian de las Heras and Frederick Barker then topped Division D, winning the final 9-2 to take gold. Francis Avellano and Miguel Rubio claimed silver in their division. But the story of the tournament, though, belongs to Dominic Hemy, paired with a Luxembourg athlete in the top division. 2 players with no shared language finding a way to work together. They